Welcome back. Before we open KiCad and start routing traces, I want to spend a few minutes explaining why this project is genuinely difficult and why the difficulty is a feature, not a bug. The board we're designing together is, as you know already, a smart USB thumb drive. At first glance, it might look like a simple device. It's small, it's got two USB ports, and it fits in your hand. But inside, it carries a set of engineering challenges that appear constantly in professional electronics. And these are challenges that most beginner PCB courses never touch. In this lecture, I'll walk you through 5 major design challenges and what you learn by solving each one. Let's start with a quick look at what's on this board. You've seen this before, but I'm going to go through it again because I'm going to touch on a few additional points. The smart USB thumb drive is built around 5 components. First, we've got the RP2040, which is a microcontroller. It's the brain of the device. It runs user code and manages the various connected components, such as the OLED display and the sensors. Next, we have the USB2244, which is a USB bridge controller that translates between the USB interface and the eMMC storage. Speaking of storage, we've got the 64GB eMMC chip, which is our flash storage. And this one, as we'll see, is the most challenging component on the board. Also, we have 2 USB-C ports on the host side for the storage and another one for the RP2040. And then finally, we have a pair of LM66100 ideal diodes that manage which port is applying power at any given time. And here's the constraint that ties everything together. We're building all of this on just 2 copper layers inside a USB thumb drive form factor. So every millimeter here matters. The first challenge is the BGA packaging of the flash storage component. BGA stands for ball grid array. Instead of pins along the edges of a chip, like you'd see on a QFP microcontroller, a BGA package places its connections as a grid on tiny solder balls on the bottom of the chip. You can't see them once the chip is soldered down, and routing to them requires a completely different strategy. Our eMMC chip is a 153-volt TFBGA package with just 0.5 millimeter pitch. And the pitch I'm talking about is just the distance between the adjacent balls on the bottom of the eMMC chip. You can see here, just this distance between the balls is 0.5 millimeters. And that means that the centers of adjacent balls are only half a millimeter apart. And that's extremely tight. To escape signals from under the chip, we need a technique called via in pad. And that means placing a via. You can see here that red rectangle represents a via from where we can get a trace down to the bottom copper layer and then escape it from there onwards to other parts of the board. This is standard practice for tight BGA geometries, but it creates DSC violations in KiCad that look like errors. And there's another point here. KiCad will flag these as violations, and part of what you learn is the difference between a DSC error that genuinely needs fixing and one that is intentional, well understood, and properly documented. The second challenge is USB signal integrity. So USB 2.0 uses differential signaling. The data travels on 2 traces, D- and D+. You can see it here in this simple diagram as well. Got D- and D+. The receiver measures the difference in voltage between them rather than their absolute voltage. This gives us excellent noise rejection, but it only works reliably if you follow the rules. The most important rule is differential impedance. The USB specification targets 90 ohms. We'll call that a 90 ohm differential. Impedance is controlled by the physical geometry of the traces, which is the width, the gap between them, and the distance to the nearest ground plane. As you can see in this cross-section diagram right here, we're working with 0.30 millimeter traces. So this is how wide those traces are. And a 0.20 millimeter gap, which is this distance here between the traces, on a 1.6 millimeter FR4 substrate. On a two-layer board, we can't achieve exactly 90 ohms. Our geometry gives us roughly about 130 to 150 ohms differential. But USB 2.0 has enough tolerance in its margins that this works in practice. And that's why I decided to go with USB 2.0 instead of more modern standard and faster standard like USB 3. And this is what I call impedance-aware design, understanding the physics well enough to know when you're close enough and where you're not. We'll use Wheeler's equations and an online calculator to model our impedance, and the parameter table on this slide summarizes the key values. So here are the basic parameters that we are going to be working with. The third challenge is the eMMC high-speed interface. eMMC uses a parallel bus, a clock line, up to 8 data lines, a command line, and control signals to move data between the bridge controller and the storage chip. At high data rates, all of those signals must arrive at the receiving chip within a very tight timing window. If one data line is routed longer than another, it arrives later. The receiver may sample it at the wrong moment, causing read errors. And this timing mismatch is called skew. The solution is length matching, adding serpentine meanders to shorter traces until they match the length of the longest one. In KiCad, we'll do this with the interactive length tuning tool, and we'll monitor progress using the net inspector, which shows trace lengths in real time. Here in these diagrams, you can see the final results of my prototype. The target is to have data lines within plus or minus 3 millimeters of each other, and the clock within plus or minus 5 millimeters. So this bar chart on the slide shows the final result, again from a prototype, all 10 signals neatly grouped between 50 and 52 millimeters with a final inter-data skew of just 1 millimeter. And that's a result that any professional engineer would be satisfied with. As I mentioned, I achieved these results during the prototyping phase of preparing for this course, and I'm going to try and achieve something very similar as we go through the project together. The fourth problem is the power path management. The board can receive power from either USB-C port, and that means that we need a circuit that selects between them automatically and critically prevents current from flowing backwards into whichever port is not providing power. A regular Schottky diode would do this, but at a cost. A voltage drop of 0.3 to 0.5 volts, which means wasted power and heat. Instead, we'll use the LM66100 ideal diode from Texas Instruments. It uses a MOSFET to achieve the same blocking function with a drop of just 5 to 10 millivolts, which is far more efficient. We'll use two LM66100s in this type of topology that you can see here. Each one guards one input, and the outputs connect together to form a single clean V-bus rail that powers the rest of the board. If both ports are connected simultaneously, then both contribute without fighting each other. If one is disconnected, the other takes over seamlessly. The fifth challenge wraps all the others together, doing all of this within a tight form factor on only 2 copper layers. The PCB has to fit inside a relatively standard USB-C shell. Every millimeter of board area is contested. The cross-section on the right of this slide right here shows a contrast. A 4-layer board like this cutout right here, which is what most professional designs with BGA and high-speed interfaces would use, has dedicated inner layers for power and ground planes. Those planes make impedance control straightforward, give signal traces a consistent reference, and leave the outer layers free for routing. But in our design, we are just using 2 layers. Power, ground, and signals all have to share the same surfaces, and there's no free ground plane. As the node on the diagram says, fewer layers means that every routing decision must be deliberate. You need to think about where your ground returns are, how you're distributing power, and how signals interact with each other. This constraint is the one that makes you a better PCB designer, because you can't rely on extra layers to clean up after you. So here's a recap of this lecture. We've got BGA packaging, USB signal integrity, the eMMC interface, power path management, and the 2-layer constraints. And that's the landscape. You now know what's ahead and why each challenge matters. I'll see you in the next lecture.